Cruella is directed by Craig Gillespie. It stars Emma Stone, Emma Thompson, Joe Fry, and Paul Walter Hauser. Cruella is a live action Disney film that explores the origin of Cruella de Vil. This film follows a character named Estella. Estella really wants to be a fashion designer, but there's obstacles and problems in her life that make it difficult for her to achieve that dream. She does eventually get to become a fashion designer, but her boss is somebody who did her wrong in the past. And we see Estella slowly transform into Cruella de Vil, and there's this huge banter that just goes on, and we basically have our origin story of the famous Disney villain, Cruella de Vil. I'm not going to lie to you guys, I am really tired of the live action Disney films. I really don't care for the majority of them. I really like The Jungle Book, and there are a few others that were decent, but for the most part, I think they're bland, unnecessary, and in my opinion, they're very obviously cash grabs. So I had little to no expectations for Cruella. I actually saw the trailer for this movie a lot of times throughout my journey going into the theaters every month. I saw this trailer almost every week, basically. And the one thing that popped out in my mind while watching the trailer was that Emma Stone looked wonderful in the film because she is a wonderful actress. But as for the movie itself, I just didn't really care. So I went into the movie with little to no expectations. And in regards to other adaptations of this franchise, so we have 101 Dalmatians, right? The animated film. I've actually never seen it. I don't know why. I just haven't seen that. And the live action movies with Glenn Close. So here's the thing. I know I've owned the VHS. I know at one point I popped in the VHS and watched the movie, but I have absolutely no recollection of the film. So I didn't really know what to expect going into this. I have absolutely no attachment to Cruella de Vil or her story. So I went into Cruella, like I said, with little to no expectation. So the question is, what did I think of Cruella, this live action Disney film starring Emma Stone and Emma Thompson? I have to say, I thought it was pretty good. This is definitely one of the better live action Disney films. I dug it. I liked it. It was fun. It was funny. It was dark. And I overall had a good time. I do want to say right off the bat that I do believe this is going to be that Disney live action film that will not really appeal to kids. I also want to point out the fact that this is a very dark movie. Although that's not really why I would say kids will be alienated from this film, most likely. It's more because of the stylistic choices the director makes, and it is a little bit too long. I'll talk about those points in a little bit later, but I will say that this is that live action Disney film that looks like it would appeal more to adults than to children. But let's talk about Cruella and why I like the film and why I would overall recommend it to you guys. The best thing about this movie, hands down, is the thing that I assumed would be the best thing, which is Emma Stone. Emma Stone is absolutely wonderful in this film. She does a great job showcasing a lot of range because as Estella, Estella is somebody who went through a lot of problems as a kid. She became an orphan. Her mom died in a very unfortunate way. And to make a living, she had to steal with two other people who basically became her family. And she had this dream of being somebody. And because of society not accepting her for who she is, and just her having to go through a lot of obstacles, you feel for the character. And I thought Emma Stone, when Estella transformed into an adult, Emma Stone really sold that performance. And her performance only gets better when she transforms to Cruella de Vil, because there are parts where she is Cruella de Vil in certain scenarios, and then she transformed back to Estella. And Cruella de Vil is basically the opposite of Estella. So watching her simultaneously play two different kinds of personalities in their performance, it was riveting. And I have to say, I really liked the performance. I'm not surprised at all that I feel this way because I love Emma Stone. She's an Academy Award winning actress, and she is wonderful in basically anything she's in. So yeah, she knocked it out of the park. Also, who was great was Emma Thompson. Emma Thompson, she plays the villain of this movie. I mean, I know Cruella de Vil is a Disney villain, but the villain of this movie is Emma Thompson's character. She plays the boss of Cruella de Vil in this film. She is deplorable. She's a very spiteful character. Not many redeeming qualities. I would actually say there's basically no redeeming qualities to this person. But at the same time, you really like watching this character be on the screen. I think Emma Thompson did a wonderful job as well. She was great in the movie. She really sold you as somebody who just had no compassion or care for anybody or anything in the world. It was her way or the highway. And she'll do anything to make sure that she's the best in the business, even if it means murder, if it means basically just being as ruthless as possible. I think Emma Thompson really demonstrated that she is just an amazing actress. And in here, she is just as good as Emma Stone. Both Emmas in this film are absolutely the people who shine in all of the cast. But that's not to say the rest of the cast is bad. I also mentioned Joel Fry and Paul Walter Hauser. They're both really funny and they're charismatic and they do add a lot to their roles. You have Mark Strong, who has a little bit of a smaller role, but he's also pretty good in the film as well. We also have some of the dogs in the film who have their own personalities. And there's one dog in particular, his name is Wink, and he was my favorite. He was very likable, he was funny, and he was very adorable. So I'm a dog lover. So, when I see dogs, the majority of them, I'm a happy person. And I just, have a smile on my face when I see them. So some of these dogs definitely put a smile on my face, and they were very enjoyable to watch in the film. So, yeah, the acting is definitely solid all across the board. I have to say the production design and the costumes, phenomenal. They are. This movie is definitely get nominations for best costume design and the production because they really were appealing to the eye. And I was just able to, as a viewer, I was able to see how much effort was put into those departments. I thought those were really stunning to look at. And yeah, the costume design in particular, because this film is about fashion design, right? And yeah, just the whole costume design, it was really, really nice to look at. So I definitely appreciated that aspect of the film as well. So like I said before, this film is, I would say, is mostly for adults, not just for the dark humor, but for the stylistic, I'm not dark humor, I'm sorry, for the dark content. It's also because of the stylistic choices this film makes. So this has like a 70s campy style of direction with the editing and the soundtrack, and it really makes it stand out from the other live action Disney films. And I don't see kids really being engrossed in that type of style. Like I said, I see adults being more engrossed in it. So as an adult, I could say that I like the style. Some of the songs were maybe a little bit out of place. I love all the songs. It's a 70s soundtrack, so it's very, I like listening to the soundtrack, but some of the songs were a little bit out of place. For the most part, though, the songs are incorporated well with the scenes that they're in. And this film, this is the type of movie that really showcases Cruella de Vil's origin. It really takes the time to let the viewer know how she was as a child. You see her struggles, and when you see her as an adult, you feel like you have such a big understanding of Cruella de Vil Estella as a character and why she transforms the way she does. So she's kind of like the anti-hero in this film, for sure. The directing is solid. I was pretty into it for like the first two acts. I was engaged. There were some pacing issues within the first two acts, but for the most part, I liked what I was watching, and I was interested to see where the story would go. I will say this movie is definitely a little bit too long. This film clocks in at 2 hours and 15 minutes. If I'm being honest, this film could have been maybe 30 minutes shorter because it definitely starts to feel a little bit draggy. And during the third act, it does start to feel a little bit repetitive. In the second act, you get to see how the story is progressing, and then it kind of just starts repeating the same beats as the movie goes on. So as a viewer, it was a little bit exhausting at that point, but for me, the positives outweigh the negatives for this film. And I have to say, this does not feel like a cash grab. It doesn't feel like an unjustified film, because from my understanding, there hasn't really been an origin story of Cruella de Vil. And you could tell that the director of this film, he wanted to take a different approach to this type of story. And I like that type of approach. And I think most people will. It's just, I can see kids being bored by it. If I was an adult, I am an adult. I'm saying if I was bored towards the third act, I can only imagine how some kids would feel throughout the entire movie. But I would say give it a chance. There was a kid in my theater. He seemed to have liked it. So I'm just making an assumption that there are some kids who may not really enjoy it as much as adults will. I'm going to give Cruella a 7 out of 10. This is definitely a solid movie. I had little to no expectations, like I said before in the review, but I ended up liking it. It's a good movie with great performances, wonderful production design, and the costume design as well. It's entertaining, it's fun. Watching Cruella DeVille and the villain of the movie interact and do their bantering, it's entertaining. Like I said, I would give it a 7 out of 10. Cruella's a good film. I would recommend watching it. If you have the choice between Cruella or Quiet Place Part 2, I would say Quiet Place Part 2, which I already reviewed, by the way. And yeah, that's my review of Cruella. So thank you guys for watching my review of Cruella. I hope you guys will take it into consideration in regards to checking out this film or not. My next review will be for the HBO show Mayor of Easttown, the new miniseries starring Kate Winslet. The finale just dropped last night. I watched the show and I really want to talk about the show and review it for you guys. So I'm going to review that for you guys in a couple of days or so. Look forward to that. Thank you guys again. Make sure to like this review, subscribe to the channel if you haven't, share the review if you want, and I will see you guys next time with my review of Mayor of Easttown. So take care, have a good Memorial Day, and I'll see you later.